The Maid Fuku to Kikanjuu is an action-adventure game that was released for the PlayStation in Japan only in 2006 and was published by D3 Publisher. And this is a very different style of action game, more of an obscure kind of style game, where it focuses on shooting style elements. It's all like run and gun gameplay, but with typical Japanese fashion. It uses cartoony and anime style graphics for the visuals, and the goal is that you play as a young girl that's dressed up as a maid, which is kind of weird when you think about it, but that's just the reality of a lot of games that come out in Japan. And the goal is to complete levels by utilising a variety of different weapons, from machine guns to explosive weapons to take out enemies and robots and anything that gets in your way pretty much. So the levels themselves present themselves more from a linear style approach, but towards the end of each level you'll always have to fight some sort of end level boss or some sort of mini boss as you progress through each stage, but just has many unique and quirky elements that you wouldn't often see in games. And this game itself would also be published under the Simple 2000 budget entry series of games, and like the PlayStation 1 before it, budget style games would have been released on the original PlayStation under the Super Light or Simple 1500 series, and the same premise was continued on with the PlayStation 2 that allowed for smaller independent companies to develop games that had smaller budgets to also be able to publish games for the console. Now, not all of these games would have been considered to be great, as they're more entry level titles, as they were kind of like lower quality and were developed with a lower budget, but some of these games were considered quite popular within the region, and in some cases quite a few of these games would be published in other regions with likes of North America and even Europe, who would be given different names or rebranded under different names themselves. But it's just an interesting concept, and the funny thing is the PlayStation 2, like the PlayStation 1, has no shortage of experimental titles, as again with the PlayStation 1, looking back, it was the first real entry alongside the Sega Saturn into 3D games. So you had many different developers, all with different kind of budgets and skill levels, all trying their hand at trying to develop games for the console, and were able to release them in their own ways, where regardless of where they were releasing them. Some of them had to utilise budget entries like the Simple 1500, or in this case the Simple 2000 series, to get their games out on the shelves and to get their ideas seen to people. While they may not appeal to everybody, they do have unique charm to them that have appealed to some, and there is people that would have bought these games and enjoyed them for what they were. So that trend continued on with the PS2, and funnily enough, the PS2, because it has a far greater selection or catalogue of games that were released on the system, the PS2 has even more experimental games than even that of the PS1, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. And this game is a reflection of that. Yes, it's not the best game out there, but it definitely has enough quirky elements, and it just has a unique charm to it that many games don't really offer. But it just, to many, this game would just seem weird. But how does it play overall? Well, funny enough, it's just a typical shooter game. You run around, just shoot everything in your way, you target enemies and you just take them out. You fight end level bosses and you progress. But it has a lot of character and charm, and it does have some really nice graphics, even though they're very cartoony, and it suits the style that the game is going for. And it's a game that's just good for a quick blast, or just something that's different, and that's the whole concept behind it. If you're looking for something that just stands out from the crowd, that doesn't take itself too seriously, these type of games would be worth looking into. Right, they're never going to break new grounds, or they're never going to be considered popular compared to more higher entry games or budget or more lucrative style of games, but they do have a unique charm all on their own, and for that reason they are worth experiencing. There is also a fan translated version that you can find of this game online. I will try to cover that in another video soon, just so that you can kind of get an idea of the story. But even regardless of the dialogue and the text, the gameplay is very simple and it's very easy to pick up and play regardless of the language barrier. It's just a simple run and gun style game where you run through linear style levels, and just literally the aim is just to destroy everything that gets in your way, collect power-ups and various items, and then just keep moving forward and using whatever weapons that you have at your disposal to take out enemies and just to complete the levels in any way possible. So it's one of those games that is fun for just a quick pick up and play, or just a quick blast through, and if that's something you're into, then you can give this game a go and see what you think for yourself. It definitely has enough unique quirky charm that might keep you entertained for a while. So I would love to know your thoughts on this game if you have played it yourself, and if so, what did you think of it overall? Or do you like these quirky experimental style games that were released on both the PlayStation 2 PS2 and even on the PS1. I'd love to hear whatever stories you do have with this game, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be updated of future videos. And if you would like to see more content around other types of quirky and obscure games that were released on the PS2, you can check out the playlist here on screen to see more of those games in action. And as always, I will see you in the next one.
いらっしゃい。